Hello world, double thumbs here. The idea of retiring early sounds like the dream for most of us. Although some of us may hold jobs and careers that we are genuinely passionate about, the thought of enjoying life in other ways, like with your friends and family, or traveling, or doing anything that makes you happy, is an interesting option for most of us. And the concept of financial independence and retire early, or the FIRE movement, basically focuses on either reducing your expenditures or increasing your income and saving that difference to a point where you have enough safety net to retire early and don't work and live off your savings and investments. And we always hear about this couple saving up $1 million by their age 35 and retiring early, but these people always seem to make about $300,000 per year combined. So what if you're only making the average income, let's say, of about $50,000? Is it still possible for an average man or a woman? Let's go find out to see if math can be trusted. So there are multiple ways to reach financial independence and increase your savings, and the lean fire movement focuses mainly on frugality and lowering your cost of living so that the savings become bigger, linked to the concept of minimalism and reducing everything down to only the things that you need. And on the other hand, the fat fire movement focuses mainly on increasing your revenue or your income, and also diversifying your income. So focusing more on side hustles and investment income. And in this video, I'll mainly focus on the lean side of things, just because we're gonna set the income at about $50,000. So we'll have to focus more on savings and see how you can reach that financial independence, spending the least amount possible on your cost of living. And the other thing is that the fat fire movement, it seems to be very variable. Some people make only hundreds per month with your side hustles, and some people change their careers because their side hustles become their main career or main hustles. So looking at the first method that I thought of to reach financial independence as a regular income earner is to save and also still work part-time. And a few months ago, I made a video on minimum income needed to survive in Canada as a single person, and it came out to be about $21,000 sharing accommodation with a significant other or with the roommate. And say if you make about $50,000, so minus 21,000, so about $30,000 of savings, and say you do that for about 5 years and you have 150K. No, usually it's not going to be the case. And let's say you make some poor life decisions or unnecessary purchases and you are only able to save about $20,000 per year. And times that by 5 years, you save $100,000 over the 5 years. And let's say you start that at age 25, and at age 30, you decide to cut down your work hours by half, from 40 hours a week to 20 hours a week. So you only make about now the $25,000 per year. So you're just getting by at this point. So you better hope that your $100,000 is well invested to compound to a level where you can easily retire when you want to retire. And let's say that $100,000 is growing from age 30 to age 60, and throughout this age 30 to 60 you still work 20 hours per week, but you let that $100,000 just grow steadily. And let's say that you have a 7% increase every year and subtract 2% inflation, so 5% growth in reality. And in the 30 years, your $100,000 will grow to $411,000 thanks to the magic of compounding. And let's say the cost of living also increases 2% per year during those 30 years, and it will come to be about $37,000 or so. So at age 60, you'll have enough saved up to last about 10 years without working at all, which isn't that bad. And yes, you'll be working from when you're age 30 till you're 60, but you're only working 20 hours per week compared to working 40 hours a week. And that's gonna have a significant improvement in your quality of life. And I personally noticed a huge jump in my quality of life working just 4 days a week versus 5 days a week. as I discussed in my previous video. So I do think this is probably the most balanced way of reaching FIRE or financial independence and retiring early, or I guess you could call this a partial FIRE. So the second option is to work a little bit longer at full time and retire a bit earlier completely. And let's say again, at age 30 you save up about $100,000, and instead of reducing your work hours to 20 hours, you keep it at 40 hours per week for another 15 years. And for those 15 years you put in $20,000 per year to your investment, and again at 5% growth in the 15 years your $100,000 investment will grow to about $610,000. And again, looking at inflation at about 2%, by the time you're 45 your cost of living will be about $27,000, $28,000. So the $610,000 will last you about 20 years or so. In the end, you work the same amount of hours as someone who worked 20 hours per week for 15 years, but your savings will only last you until you're 65, compared to someone who's worked part-time and worked a little bit longer, which will reach you until 70 years old. Again, it's a little bit of a estimation, and it's not always going to be the same, because you're not always going to make the same income. Your income might increase as you go through the ranks, but it gives you an idea of what it would be like to just work part-time and work a little bit longer versus working full-time for a shorter period of time. So in conclusion, it is possible to reach partial FIRE even if you don't have a six-figure income. And yes, my calculations are probably overly optimistic, because there's no way that cost of living will increase at a lesser or equal rate as your income or your inflation. It's always gonna increase a lot more, this cost of living. But as long as you practice somewhat of a frugality and reduce any kind of luxuries, you might be able to keep the cost of living low enough where your savings and your part-time work is able to sustain your life. And I do think that this partial FIRE is probably the best way to reach FIRE, or best balanced way of reaching FIRE, because you don't want to do nothing for the rest of your life or just work on your hobbies. You do want to have some productivity or make some money just for the peace of mind. And I do think that it is still possible to reach FIRE as a regular income earner, but it's going to be tougher, obviously. And also you might have to make some sacrifices here and there, work a little bit more or save a little bit longer before you retire completely. But what do you guys think? If you're already doing this partial FIRE, how are you finding it working part-time versus full-time? And if you're not, then how does this partial FIRE sound like to you? Let me know down below, and until next time,